everyone, and welcome to Soul Seeds, where my guest expert today is life coach Anna. And we are going to dive into the topic of the cage of competency. So please enlighten me. I would love to know what that is.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Suzanne. It's always a delight to be here. The cage of competency at its highest level
Mhm.
is how we protect ourselves from the world around us. It is a
Mm,
safety mechanism.
right.
And before I get into that, we got to talk a little bit about, well, where it comes from and why do we even need this thing?
Mhm.
And we are all organisms. We've talked before, you've heard me say this. We
Mhm.
are organisms. Organisms have one foundational program. It runs through everything, and it is critical to understand this, or you will stay stuck. You will
Mhm.
continue to stay stuck because this program is that important. And you know what this program is?
Survival.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. It is survival. We are organisms. That's the first thing we got to do is survive, or else there's no point. Like nothing
Yeah.
else will happen. Like
Yeah.
dead, you don't do anything.
Yeah.
So survival. When we are growing up, based on the environments we're in, the people we're around, the religious programs we belong to, whatever it is, all of those parts of our environment
Mhm.
influence us. And by the time we're 7 years old, we have a set of rules about who we should be, who we ought to be, got to be, have to be, should be.
Yeah. All those
And that,
programming going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
we get programmed and the rules keep building up, but the fundamental things, they're in there by the time we're 7 years old.
Right.
Got this program about our worthiness, about what we've got to
Mhm.
do to be accepted, all of this stuff.
It's like our inner software.
It is.
Mhm.
And as we go through life, once you have those rules,
Mhm.
what you do is when we tell our brains something, our brains see that.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter. Have you ever used Midjourney?
No, not that I
Midjourney
know.
is an AI image creation software.
Okay,
Now,
right.
if you type a thing into this program, and there's a reason I'm telling you this, if you type a
Mhm.
thing into Midjourney and you say, hey, uh, make me an elephant, it'll
Mhm.
make you an elephant.
Right.
Now, if you say, give me an empty room, but don't put an elephant in it, it'll
Mm.
make a big empty room with an elephant hiding in the corner. It will
Right.
still draw the elephant. It
Yeah.
doesn't understand don't or not.
Mm. Right. It
Nor
just
does your
sees the word
brain.
elephant. Right.
Yes.
Mm.
And your brain doesn't either. It only sees what you say. So when you have these stories,
Mhm.
not good enough, people are mean, whatever
Mm.
you learned, those rules, you will see proof of those
Right.
and you will build evidence. Now, let's think about what that does. Now, you're taking a 7-year-old. Now, let's fast forward to your 25, 30 years old.
Mhm.
You've now had 25 years or, yeah, 20, 25 years of
Mhm.
seeing what you've told your brain is true,
Mhm.
adding evidence to that,
Adding more proof. Like,
adding
yeah.
more proof, adding more
Right.
proof, adding more proof, adding more proof.
Right.
There is a weight to every pebble. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter if we say, oh, well, that stranger looked at me wrong or they sneered at me. What you believe about it has the weight
Mhm.
of a pebble.
Right.
Over 30 years, over 20 years, over 10 years,
Mhm.
if you add enough of those pebbles, those
Mhm.
perceived slights, those beliefs about the stories that were told to you, you create this mountain that
Mhm. Right.
buries you alive.
Oof. Yeah, that's a lot of weight to carry.
It is a lot of weight to carry.
Mhm.
And our system sees every one of those pebbles as a predator, as
Mm.
danger.
Right.
And that's really important. So, what we grew up believing will be a truth. And
Mhm.
so, let's say we perceive that people will not like me is a very common
Mhm.
one. Social anxiety is very common.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not diagnosing social anxiety. I'm saying as a like being stressed around people. I have to be
Right.
aware of my language.
Mhm.
Being stressed around people. So we have this, and we go into the room, and before we even go into the room, the week before, we're perceiving this event and we're
Mm.
perceiving that people aren't going to like us. We've just thrown a predator into our future. Our brain doesn't know the difference between being worried about what people might think of us and a tiger. It just doesn't know the difference.
Mhm.
And
Right. It
so
just sees danger.
it just sees danger.
Right.
Now, let's say there's a presentation at the end of the week as well. It sees danger there. So now you've added
Mm.
another predator. Anxiety is really a reflection of how many predators you have in your future based on all of the things that you believe are true from your
Right.
past.
Based on all that proof that you've collected over the
All of the
years.
proof, right? All of the truths.
Mm.
Now, bring this to the cage of competency.
Mhm.
The cage of competency is how we attempt to protect ourselves and mitigate all of those things that all of the predators in the future, because we are so freaking anxious all the time.
Mm.
And so we get a certificate. There's one bar on our cage, and we get training, and we build whatever it is we do. We get proof. We make a friend over here, or we have somebody tell us that we're great, or whatever it is we do. But we build these sort of competencies, and then especially in one area. So I become a business mogul. I make myself $1 million, and I put myself inside this cage, and I say, you can't touch me because I have all of these things that prove that I'm worthy, and that those things in my future that I'm scared of can't hurt me.
Right.
But it's a cage.
It's a safety net that doesn't function.
Everyone can see through.
Right. Yeah.
Anyone can poke holes in that thing.
Right.
And that's what creates that misery, is that we think the antidote to the predators in the future that we don't realize are there, because no one's ever told us that's what we're doing,
Right.
or that our nervous system's doing this, right? We didn't know. But I think the antidote to our stress, our panic, our feelings of inadequacy, our challenge of self-worth is to add more accolades, add more bars to the cage we're sitting in,
Right.
and to hide inside of it.
Yeah.
And we think it's going to solve our problems. And that's
Right.
the cage of competency. And that's the catch-22, because it becomes our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And
How can we break those bars down and allow ourselves to actually be safe?
Oh,
Oh.
have you ever read Brene Brown?
Yes.
So again, awareness. I talk about this a lot, self-awareness, the willingness to take a look at the stories and say, oh my gosh, there might be more. This is evidence, not truth, right?
Right.
Evidence, not truth. That's step one. We can't begin to do a lot of work unless you're willing to say, wow, look at the evidence.
Yeah, because like evidence is basically your truth or how you perceive it, and then there's the actual truth.
Right. And because I can't see inside you, I can't see behind you, I can't see what's under you. I have a very limited vision of you and the entire room around me. There's so much of this room that I'm in right now, I can't see any of it, but I assume it's behind there,
Right.
because I know, right? I've seen it before.
Yeah.
That's the key. But yeah, so being open, or even just allowing a little crack in that door. And then I got a self-compassion. This is a triggering space. It feels like you're collapsing from the inside out when you go through this process.
Yeah.
Because it's terrifying. So self-compassion. And then what I was talking about, Brene Brown, is the key out of your cage is vulnerability. It's being willing to be messy. It's being willing to not be perfect. It's being willing to allow all of the parts of you to be seen. Something we do in the cage of competency is we have this little compartment on the bottom of it that we stuff all of the parts of ourselves that we don't want the world to see, thinking that it will hide them, but it's just another cage that everyone can see, right? And it's being willing to take all of that stuff out,
All of that gooey stuff that we don't want to work with.
and take it out of the cage.
Mm-hmm.
And you said this on another episode we were in, and it was love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is all about learning how to get into relationship with yourself, how to love yourself. And that is really, it sounds so basic.
But it's the key.
It is, it really is. And it starts with openness and self-compassion. There's actually 6 keys that you, in order to work with this system, that you need. There's 6 of them, but the most, I would say, if you're going to focus on one first, focus on self-compassion. Self-compassion, self-compassion, and this openness.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's 6 different sort of steps in that process.
But with also the self-compassion, is that non-judgmental? Because it's so hard to to go through that and be like, oh shit, sometimes you get judgmental for all the negativity that can come up, inside you, or the parts that you want to hide.
Oh, okay. Do we have really just a quick minute? I can give you an exercise.
Of course. Yeah.
This is a mind-blowing exercise. If you do this exercise, it'll blow your mind. It will blow your mind. And it's super easy. You sit on the couch, you sit on the floor, you sit somewhere. And then the part of you that you think is shameful or bad or whatever, you take that part out of you. But when you see that part, I want you to visualize that part of you as a person sitting beside you, as a child that is under the age of 5. And you're gonna converse with that child.
Right.
And all of those parts of your shadow you do this with, and it just blows your mind. It is a completely different experience, because you would not speak to a child the way you speak to yourself. You would not speak to someone who is vulnerable the way you speak to yourself. And when you pull yourself out of yourself and you see yourself as this vulnerable, lovable thing, it creates a completely different experience for you.
Yeah, that's where the compassion comes in.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing that really helps too is very adamant. No, you good, bad, right, wrong. Nope. Not calling it good, bad, right, wrong. It's either working or not working. Every single characteristic you have, every single one works in some instances and doesn't in others. And for example, having the ability to yell, stand up for yourself, be aggressive, that can save your life.
Right.
That is not a bad part of you. Doing that in the middle of Sunday dinner,
not so much.
Not so much, right? So that's another exercise. I actually have a worksheet for this one. I'll have my students go through and I will say, okay, name the character trait that you think is bad, the thing that you're putting in your cage, that you're hiding behind those bars. What's the thing you've labeled as bad? Now write down when it doesn't work. So all the stories you have about why it doesn't work, and then write down when it does work. When does this thing that is part of you really work for you, come in handy, support others, create outcomes that are amazing? Like, let's look at this. And what you do is you're always looking to your nervous system is really, in all of the personal development work, you're looking for the parts of your nervous system that are out of balance, that are extreme to one side or the other. And then you're looking on ways or 4 ways to bring them back to center. And that's what you're doing with the cage of competency. It's the extreme, like you go over there and then you go over there, and I've polarized who I am to 2 different categories, and it's bringing all of me back together again.
Centering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne.